Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, I found this interesting little story that reminds me of a lot of things I tend to think about in terms of where the gaming industry's gone and how we've gotten to where we are now, where it seems like all the passion is gone. And I know I've talked about a lot of it before in terms of it seems like the people who are involved view it more of just a job instead of really being in love with it. And when I found this article, it kind of reminded me of, those early days back in the late 70s, early 80s, where gaming wasn't a industry, where people were just really starting to build it. So they had to be passionate because there wasn't a place to just go to get a job. You had to build your own job. In this case, I'm talking about Koei Tecmo founder Yoichi Erikawa. I'm sorry if I get that wrong. He's also known as Kou Shibusawa. Oh my gosh. And the time he accidentally created a video game. It was a solo passion project. He had a home PC. This was back in the days that having a home PC wasn't common. I mean, you had your Commodore 64s and everything, but even then they were viewed as more of a game console kind of, or just something. They weren't a household appliance, let's put it that way. It wasn't something common. I had one growing up, but my parents have always been very technically focused. So it was, interestingly enough, one of the very first video games I ever played was one that my mother had to find in a Commodore book and actually program into the computer because it didn't have an actual disc or anything to put in it. You actually programmed your own games back in the day, and I mean, you would take the programming out of a book or something and put it in the computer yourself. You had to write it yourself as opposed to popping the disc in. That is how far we've come, and a lot of times I don't think people really think about that. Well, honestly, from some of the conversations I've had, I know a lot of people don't think about it. They don't realize exactly how far we've come and how we had to go through so much to get where we are now. And that's understandable. I'm not blaming anybody for that. Most people can really only think about the things they've actually experienced. It's very hard for them to think back and imagine things that they weren't a part of. But in this case, Erikawa is talking about how he basically created the first war simulator. And for him, it was a passion project. It was something that he developed out of his passion for history and a fascination for programming. Since he had the personal PC, Erikawa would work on it at night after finishing his day job. He says, I was making the game while learning about the PC that my wife bought for me, and it gradually became more entertaining. Before I knew it, my game grew increasingly polished, and I played it every day. Now, the game in question is, I'm going to try to say this as well as I can. Kawanakajima no Kasen, and I probably got something wrong in there, and I apologize now. But it's drawing on real-life historical events. The game puts the player in the Sengoku period, in the midst of the clash between Takeda and Usugi clans. It incorporates not only battle, but realistic elements of being a feudal lord in Japan, like managing recruits, finances, and flood control. And you see here some of the gameplay images. Not quite what you expect in today's world. And then at his wife's suggestion, he went ahead and put it out to see if anybody would be interested in his game. They put an advertisement in a computer magazine, and apparently he thought he'd sell maybe 10, 20 copies. And then he ended up selling 10,000 copies. And you're talking about in a day where you couldn't just approach a publisher and have them invest money in you and print these out and send them out. No, these people had to go ahead and make them themselves. They had, it says here that it was all done by hand. We had no employees. So we asked our neighbors, including police officers' wives from the nearby housing complex, to copy the cassette tapes, label them, and package them. But despite the humble start, Kawanakajima no Kasen sold approximately 10,000 copies, which is a staggering number for the time. The unexpected success of his first game led Erikawa to consider developing more games. Users started calling, asking for more, he recalls. People wanted games about Nobunaga, Ieyasu, and Hideyoshi, other Sengoku period warlords. Others asked for World War II TRPGs, and that's when I realized there was a real demand. And here's more gameplay. Wasn't it just such a fantastic time back then? Look at the those stunning graphics. This demand led to the development of Nobunaga's Ambition in 1983, a game that's considered to be one of the first historical simulators and has since grown into a franchise with over 40 games. Erikawa designed the game, while the programming was done by talented college students Koei hired as part-timers. Recounting how Koei became a software company, Erikawa comments, "I hadn't even thought of the phrase entering the game business. Or rather, there was no such thing as a game industry or gaming business back then. At the time, the PC world was driven by 4 magazines known as the Big Four: ASCII, RAM, I/O, and microcomputer. Amateur PC users were influenced by these magazines, and it gradually became more and more absorbed in PCs, turning into geeks, and one by one, business owners emerged from this user base. I think I was one of them," and he definitely was. The game Kawa Nakajima no Kasen is available on PC through Steam, but it is only available in Japanese in the off chance you want to go ahead and check that out. But it really does say, that's how things happened back then. It was people who had a passion and just created the thing out of whole cloth. They sat down and figured out how to do it. And we don't have that kind of passion today. Well, not very much of it. I did see a tweet earlier today that was talking about someone who had actually developed algorithms for the creation and motion tracking of black hair, because obviously their hair moves differently than other hair, or specifically that 4C curl, that tight curl that they get, and it's tight against their head. And it has a bunch of different factors. Until now, there hadn't been an algorithm or anything set up to track that to make it easier to code into games. Someone has actually done that. To me, that is fantastic. That's the type of thing I like to see. Someone sees a problem, and instead of sitting around and whining about the fact that they have to do something the hard way, they find a way to make it easier. And yeah, it's not easy to do. You have to have a creative talent. You have to have a drive and a reason to do it. And that's what makes greatness. Currently, especially in the AAA realm, oh my God, especially in the AAA realm, we're not talking about people who are looking to solve a problem in the industry or to even create something brand new. They just want to create something that people will buy. They want to create content. They don't want to create something from passion. And because of that, the things they make lack that passion. They lack that love. And it shows in the end product. It always will show in the end product. That's why it happens in every business across the board. You have someone who discovers an answer. Even Walmart. Walmart is actually a perfect example. Sam Walton created his small business and grew it to millions of stores, making millions of dollars across the country. He wanted to provide good service at a low cost that anybody could access. Now, we can argue about the effect that's had on the mom and pop businesses and smaller businesses and so forth, but at the same time, he didn't do it to disrupt those businesses. That's part of doing business, unfortunately. It just is. But he did it because he wanted to provide a service. And yes, he made money off the service on the back end. But as time progressed, as it moved further from him and he finally died, it changed. Because the people who were then in control of it no longer had the same love. You see it in Disney movies. You see it across the board. People just don't have the same love that they used to. It's in the music industry. They figured out a way that you could create something just good enough, just different enough, that someone would be willing to buy it. And in some cases, you're kind of stuck, because you have to get your food somewhere. And if Walmart's the only place still open in your area, that's your only choice. Unless, of course, you're willing to find a mom and pop business and maybe pay a little more. Personally, that tends to be what I do a lot. Unless, of course, it's eggs, then I find some local farmers and I pay less. But that's a separate issue. To really find the love in gaming now, you have to go to the AA in indie spaces. Spaces where people are still looking at new ideas and creating new things. And it's the same thing with movies and music. You have to go outside of the easy to access stuff to get good stuff, because the people who have the passion very often haven't been able to break into the top. Because the top is already full. Those people already have their tight-knit group. They want to make their money, and they don't want to let a whole lot of people in. Because they don't want anybody to come in and shake things up and change things. They want it to remain the same. They want it to be easy. So the people down at the bottom who are looking at problems that AAAs are having and trying to find innovative ways to fix them or innovative ways to provide what they see customers wanting, but the AAA industry won't cater to, that's where you get the innovation. Because in the end, necessity is the mother of creation. It's the mother of innovation. It's what makes people have to step outside the box and do something new. Because without a need, there's no reason to do it. And yeah, this is a really loose way to use need. We're talking about a luxury product. Nobody needs a video game. But because it is something that we've come to desire, there's always going to be needs within that or wants within that someone's going to want to try to fill, mostly to their own benefit because they want to make the money off of it, and that's okay. But that was my little ramble for the evening. There will be a stream this evening at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I look forward to seeing you there. I'm going to check the number of likes on yesterday's video. If it reached 50, then I will probably do No Rest for the Wicked. If it hasn't, then we will see Baldur's Gate 3. And then to remind everybody, on Friday, me and my fiance will be doing a wedding fundraiser stream. So we'll be playing Split Fiction, co-op game, the first half of the stream. And then we'll have some friends on to hang out and chat and basically have some fun for the rest of the evening after that point. I don't have anything special specifically timed out except for the entire stream, which is 12 p.m. Mountain Time to 12 a.m. Mountain Time. So please do stop by and hang out, talk, chat, maybe throw us a little bit for the wedding if you so desire, but absolutely not expected. Mostly we're just looking to have a bit of fun and maybe raise a little money at the same time, you know? Either way, I'll see you this evening if you choose to pop by, and let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you see the same thing I do in terms of the gaming industry, or if you have other thoughts, maybe something that I haven't thought about in terms of what's going on here, the development cycle of the industry and the eventual rise and falls of various businesses. I love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.